The second story I like to comment is titled Barbie-Q. Barbie-Q. You must be wondering about the title before you begin to read. Why is it called like that? Barbie-Q, right? It's a play on words, but why the play on words? Well, we need to read the story to find out. Um, this story is about two siblings, and again, we have a girl narrating the story, and it's about seems to be about having dolls, playing with dolls, and as you know, there are those famous Barbie dolls that, well, forever they have been on display and being um, sold to many children, and we have actually a whole culture, right, based on the selling of dolls, and these dolls in particular. As of late, we have had several challenges to the companies that sell these dolls because people have been complaining that they are not widely representative of the many options that children should have gender-wise, right? Or color-wise, as far as I remember, those two. And and in this case, we it's the story seems to be a very simple story about having these dolls, playing with these dolls, and then we find out that there is a complication. The conflict here is that these dolls do not seem to be do not have, they don't have the all the necessary clothes or items that go along with the dolls at the beginning, right? And as you start buying the dolls, you realize you need more and more items to make the reality of the dolls go up to perfection somehow, right? So the first indication that things are complicated for these girls is when the narrator says, "But that's all we can afford." And then on page 14 at the bottom, it says there is a telling sentence that reads, "Because we do not have enough money for a stupid looking boy doll," and and on, right? So economics kicks in. They it's not the children who cannot buy the dolls, right? It's the parents who cannot afford buying the dolls and the specific uh, uh, items that go along with the dolls, right? And that creates complications for the children. The narrator is saying stupid, right? Stupid looking boy doll, as if she's upset. It makes her upset not to have that specific doll. But at the same time, one can read into that sentence that she is upset because not because that's a stupid doll, right? That is, why do we need that doll for? But because we do really need the doll, but we cannot uh, afford it. Mhm. Um, Now, in the story itself, as it develops, the children go one day to a market, a flea market, and they start looking around, and they find out that they are selling hundreds. I don't know, hundreds. Maybe it's too much, but lots of dolls, right? And there's a mention to the Mattel dolls, and then they go on and they find more along the way, and we find a reason for that, and it's a tragic reason. It's as the story says, the reason for the selling of the dolls is because a big toy warehouse on Halsted Street burned down yesterday, and so the dolls that they are buying and they'll be able to buy are somehow defected. But the happiness is in finding that they'll have, you know, these sort of brand new dolls they can play with, and more importantly, that they can show off to other children. What I find in the story is that there is an implicit comparison all the time between the dolls that the siblings can afford and the dolls that other children can actually afford. And that comparison is always in the narrator's mind. She cannot do away with that. It's, um, it's indeed a matter of social class status. So status is tied so closely to having, the dolls as they should be, or they should look like. And this speaks also to the consumer society in which we all live, that tags specific items like cars, dogs, um, dolls, and many more things, right, to a specific social status. Now, this is read at times as you know, as accomplishments, right? You can show off what you have because you have accomplished so much. Um, Now, the one complication here is that if we think about social justice issues or the economics of segments of the population that have had a difficult time affording good employment and success in education, as the Mexican American community, then the situation, in my view, becomes more complex, and that's what the story is telling us. Mm-hmm. Now, again, what is striking to me is how Cisneros can present the children as being so perceptive, okay, and as being so smart and bright in terms of what they can understand regarding their social reality, their gender reality, their family reality, their ethnicity, and so on and so forth. So this is one more instance, in my view, of a story that is able to fuse everything together and say it in a compellingly simple way. Mm-hmm. You don't have to make things complicated for Cisneros. You just have to go at it like in a non-pretentious way, if you will, narrating, right? But at the same time, create a whole world of meaning, universe of meaning, right? Through your writing, And I will leave it at that, because I think you can read the story on your own and get to the end and get your own conclusions on the ending of the story. Thanks.